Hello, and welcome once again to the David Messiah YouTube channel, where our watchwords are to teach and to build back up the kingdom of Zion. And my name is Sidney Thomas. I'm the founder and the moderator of this YouTube channel. The title of this presentation is Threatening Messiahs. Threatening Messiahs. And it is a reaction, really, to a community posting put out by one posting under the YouTube channel Torah Light. And that was seemingly in response to my last video upload, where, among others, I was called to warn. And the warning that I was called to give, I suppose, has been misconstrued by Torah Light as a threat. Well, in addition to making no bones about my claim, my assertion that I am that David Messiah, which is what this entire channel is about, going back to the very first upload, I am a watchman. Like all the other 144,000 who shall form the core, so to say, of the restored kingdom of Zion in these latter days. And as a watchman, the watchman of the Most High does not threaten. The watchman of the Most High warns. He is put upon the rampart, so to say, to watch over the camp and to look out for the threat that arises from the other side. And if he sees that threat coming and he does not warn, if he does not, seeing that threat, blow the trumpet to wake up the camp, to confront that threat, then the Most High says he will require it of him. This is there in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 33. So watchmen of the Most High do not threaten the congregation. Watchmen of the Most High warn. And what was the offending sort of passage? When I look over what it was I said, and I am sort of taking it upon myself to indeed assert that Torah Light was indeed responding to what I put out the day before. Now, he said threatening messiahs, that not too many people out there claiming to be the Messiah. And it was in that last upload of mine where I found cause to take people, the congregation, so to say, to the book of Revelation, chapter 22, verse 15, where I made reference to those that loveth a lie. And let me read it again. There's no threat. It's a warning. Here it is. For without are dogs and sorcerers and whoremongers and murderers and idolaters. These are they who will not make it into the kingdom. And in addition to this list, to which no one would raise objection, I'm sure, is the phrase, and whosoever loveth and maketh a lie. Whoever loveth a lie also will be counted amongst the sorcerers and whoremongers and murderers and idolaters. So this is a warning. This is not a threat. And how does it come about? It comes about because as the Messiah being raised up, as yet without any sort of constituency, any sort of following whatsoever, quite the opposite, in accordance with the prophecy of Isaiah chapter 53, I am, if anything, despised and rejected of men, a root out of dry ground. That was prophesied. Why? Because in coming to bring instruction, and that is sort of the operating, and was the operating premise of that last video upload, where I quoted from the sealed book of Moses, where Moses made reference to that last days Moses, who would be like unto him in bringing together all the 12 tribes of Israel, northern and southern kingdom alike, as indeed is also prophesied in the 66 books about that David Messiah that would come, that he would bring about reconciliation between Judah and Ephraim, between the southern tribes and the northern tribes. Okay, but in that book, the sealed book of Moses, chapter 5, verses 24 and 25, the assertion is given there by Moses that this last days Moses would be given understanding of all things there found in the scriptures and be able to connect the dots and put two and two together. And furthermore, he will be called to instruct. Because if he's given understanding, then it falls upon him also to instruct those who would form the foundation of that new society, which is the restoration of Zion kingdom, which again is 144,000, all of whom would in their own right be watchmen of the Most High, called to themselves instruct, called themselves to blow the trumpet when they see the threat coming from outside the camp. But if there is dissension, if there is disagreement as to fundamental doctrines amongst the watchmen, then we're going to have a problem, obviously. And this is also what is prophesied is there in Isaiah chapter 52, verse 8, that when this kingdom is restored, they're going to see eye to eye. All the watchmen shall see eye to eye when the Most High bringeth again Zion. But in order for them to see eye to eye, somebody must be bringing instruction. Somebody must be confounding the false doctrines that is causing the dissension, causing the watchmen not to see eye to eye. So this is a prerequisite that there be a Messiah being raised up, that there be a Messiah, among other things, to instruct. And that is what I have been doing. That is what I have been called to do. That is not something that I have appointed myself to do. This is something I have been called to do. So now if Torah light essentially is advising the congregation, when I say congregation, I mean the Bayuda congregation, those of the bloodline of Judah, and all those who are joined to that congregation, that tribe, if you like, in the manner prescribed and provided for in Scripture, whereby, yes, the stranger can become part of that congregation. So Torah light is, I don't know, and I doubt whether indeed he is part of that congregation. I doubt he is part of it by blood, and neither is he part of it by the means provided therefore within Scripture, to sojourn with us, to have children amongst us, to opt in to that covenant, having so decided to opt in, to then undergo the ritual of circumcision, and then go and join with us in observing the set feasts, the Passover and everything else. That's how you become part of the congregation. You do not become part of the congregation by professing some sort of a creed, whether Christian or Jewish or otherwise, in some sort of replacement theology, where indeed now it is no longer the Negro who are the Bayuda people as to blood, who are the ones now leading and for whom this entire sort of plan of redemption was put forward in the first place. So we have the issue within the community of dissension, disagreement, of the watchmen of the Most High not seeing eye to eye. So when the Messiah comes, and if it wasn't me, it would be whoever would have been the one called, that Messiah has first thing to instruct. Now, I did make mention that, yes, there will be a reaction to that, because nobody likes to be lectured to. Nobody likes to be instructed, especially if you yourself are a watchman and you yourself are called and you feel it in your bones somehow to be one to give instruction. But nevertheless, here we have disagreement. And we have disagreement at the most fundamental level. Why? Because it's there in Zephaniah chapter 3, verse 9, that one of the things that will be necessary when Messiah comes shall be to restore unto the people a pure language, that we might all serve the Most High with one consent. Call upon the name of the Most High with one consent. And if we don't even agree as to the name, there is the problem sort of writ large right from get-go, because we don't agree on the name. So one of the things that the Messiah is indeed called to do is to bring back the name. And I'm talking about the name. I'm not talking about all the multifarious titles that might be applied to the Most High. I'm talking about the name that the Most High gave to Moses at Exodus chapter 3, verses 14 and 15. And in 15 it is what's called the Tetragrammaton, and therein has lain the issue. Well, also in 3 verse 14, as to how now to vocalize that Tetragrammaton name. That has been the problem. So some say Yahweh, and some say Yahuwah, and some say Yahweh, and some say this, and some say that. That has been a sort of a fundamental problem, that we can't even call upon the Most High there with one consent, because the language was corrupted, and that was obviously prophesied by implication at Zephaniah 3 verse 9. There will be no need to restore pure language if the language had not been corrupted in the first place. So this is one of the things that as the Messiah I have been called to bring, to restore that name. And he has given me the key of Urim, Tuhumim, to be able to do that. And the corruption has not been by accident even, it has been deliberate. Because we do know, when you do the research, that there are more than 22 letters in the Paleo-Hebrew alphabet. And I have been guided, and I assert reliably, that there were 41 such consonants. And we know of at least 2. Emphasis on the word no, because it's there in the record, that have been taken out to leave just 22. One of them is depicted by a pictogram of an eye, and it is pronounced, so to say, vocalized as ga. And the other one is depicted by a wick, and is vocalized or given the name Gya. And both are important because with the consonant Ga is the sort of key to unlocking the riddle as to where the word Negro even comes from, and the word nega comes from, and its reference to King David. So if you take away that word Ga, not word, rather consonant Ga, and how it is depicted, you cannot solve that riddle. And the other riddle is Gog and Magog, and what it refers to. And if you take away that consonant Gya, which is depicted by a wick, you cannot hope to unravel that riddle as to really what is the meaning, sort of etymologically, of even Gog and Magog. Well, both he has given me to unravel, okay? And that is part and parcel of restoring a pure language. Now, I do not say that I have in any way completed that task, but I have been given certain keys, and indeed, perhaps the two most important ones, along with restoring the name as such of the Most High. So with Urimi to Humumim, I'm not guessing, I'm not hypothesizing, I'm not theorizing. I have been given. It is revelation. The name of the Most High, as given at Exodus chapter 3, verse 14, is properly vocalized Iye, even though written with three Paleo-Hebrew consonants, H-Y-H, He, Yod, He. It is not Ahaya, it is Iye. And he's given me how now that translates as meaning life, because it represents the breath. In breath, E, followed by out breath, Yea. It is simple. Because this is the whole point and purpose of this schoolhouse earth, is to raise up another batch of gods who are to have life eternal with the Father. That is the whole point. So the people so designated have that name, Iye, in their name, inherited from their bloodline ancestor, Iye Sharalo. And at Exodus 3:15, the suffix there is attached to that prefix, but the prefix survives in the Tetragrammaton only as the letter Y. So the leading H and the following H of that HYH prefix have been elided. Why? Because we are practical people. We didn't have Xerox machines in those days, so the scribes had to copy out letter by letter. And if you have a word that arises over 6,800 times just in the 66 books, and everybody knew what the letters were anyhow, chances are they're going to get elided, and that is what happened. And then the suffix attached to that is HWH, He, Wa, He, which is properly vocalized Hawa. So the name of the Most High, as represented by the Tetragrammaton, is properly vocalized Iye Hawa. That is it. And all in the line of succession who are to be gods to find life eternal with the Father have Iye in their names. So the name brought down to us as Isaac was actually Iye Zakaka. And he had two sons, one of which got the Iye prefix, and that was the name brought down to us as Jacob. But his name was actually Iye-Kob. So you see what is going on. The Iye in one case gets translated into E as or I as in Isaac. In another case, it gets translated into J as in Jacob. And I've dealt with that in chapter 3 of the book, The Coming of David Messiah. There are about a dozen different ways that EA gets sort of transformed when it comes down into the English language. One of them is the G as in Jesus and the G as in Jehovah. It's also the Jo as in Joseph. It's also the Jo as in John. It's also E is in all those names. It's also the I as in Isaiah, whose real name was Iye, Iye. It's the Ho in Hosea. So you can see somebody was actually playing games, you understand, to keep this hidden from us. And the Messiah, when he comes, and I am that Messiah, that was one of the things he had to do. He had to restore unto the people a pure language so that all the servants of the Most High could call upon the name of Yahweh with one consent. Now, if and where Torah Light is quite mistaken, he is now setting up the condition of having brought about that one consent where all the watchmen see eye to eye, setting that up now as a precondition now to even listening to anybody that would come forward suggesting that they are the Messiah. So it's sort of like a catch-22, I think is the term that's used in America. Okay, so the precondition to getting the relief sought under clause 22 is that you've already gotten that relief under clause 22. So you in a kind of what's called that catch-22. But no, that's not how it's done. If he has to instruct, it means that he has to instruct for the point of correcting false doctrine so as to bring about a seeing eye to eye amongst the servants of the Most High. So you do not set up the end result as a precondition even to listening to the instruction that the Most High has sent the Messiah to bring, so as to bring about that seeing eye to eye of the servants of the Most High. So Torah Light is quite mistaken in setting up that sort of precondition. Okay, but let me take the opportunity to expand a little bit, as well as to clarify some of, my earlier remarks as it pertains to what the Messiah must bring. So not only must he bring that clarity as to the proper name, and by the way, that basically puts a challenge to all those who are using and now comfortable with another name. They must now examine their own premises. Which shall it be? As this was the sort of, a challenge that Elijah brought to the 450 priests of Baal. The challenge, if you remember, was, how long shall we halt between two opinions? That was the challenge. Okay, so here we now have another challenge, and every servant of the Most High, if he has been, let us say, for example, using not Iye, rather Ahaya, for that HYH, he must now examine the premises, why it is that he thinks it should be Ahaya, and why it is he will refuse to accept Iye. And if after doing such an examination he finds he was wrong, then the proper thing to do is to jettison that falsehood and to get with the program that is now being offered. If in all honesty he cannot do so, that is fine, because the Most High does not want hypocrites. And if indeed he finds that there is something wrong with EA, then all right, go to the Messiah or send message to the Messiah, public or private, and say why it is a higher and must be a higher, and it cannot be EA. Now, the only one I would accept in terms of, don't give me no argument, arising from grammar or linguistics or any of that. Tell me you got a message, you prayed to the Most High, and this is a message that you got, and now you come to instruct me. And I will deal with that accordingly. But I don't want to hear, because it's not, at some point, it's no longer a logical argument. Language is not like that. Okay? So that is number one. When you have two opinions, there are, the one way to address it is to address it up front, honestly. And you go to the Most High prayerfully on your knees and you seek guidance. And then you go as guidance is given. But to say that having now quoted Revelation chapter 22 verse 15 that says that those who loveth a lie will not make it into the kingdom, that is not a threat, that's a warning. Because given now those two opinions, address it up front, address it prayerfully, address it on your knees, get down and pray to the Most High, and then go as He guides you. But if you sort of, out of stubbornness, ego, vanity, whatever be the case, you don't want to admit that you might have been wrong, now we have somebody who is falling under that warning sign of one that loveth a lie. And if you loveth a lie and will stick with the falsehood, after the Most High has shown you the correct thing, well, then you're going to suffer the way the 450 priests of Baal suffered. But in no case is it a threat. The threat is what is coming from the outside. The watchman is there to warn, to blow that trumpet and to blow it loud. And if the watchman refuses, seeing that threat, to blow that trumpet, then he must answer. You understand? So the watchman is in no case making any threat. The watchman is blowing a trumpet of warning. So get that very clear. Okay. Let me come back now to the thread I was on. So what are some of these other points of doctrine where there is dissension and where the servants of the Most High do not now see eye to eye, and regarding which they will see eye to eye when the Most High bring again Zion, which is why He sends His Messiah to instruct. Well, not quite the first, but let's say the next item is the calendar. Because in order to serve the Most High, in order to get onto the ark, the sort of metaphorical Noah's ark in these latter days, you get onto the ark if you are keeping His set feasts. That is a warning, that is not a threat. And if you're not keeping His set feasts, you are not getting onto the ark. Simple. And if you don't have the proper calendar for keeping the set feasts, then the feast that you keep if they kept on the wrong day, that will not bring you the salvation that you would hope otherwise to be given. So you have to get the calendar right. Therefore, in a sense, it is not surprising that one of the sort of agenda items, important agenda item brought by the Messiah, and if it wasn't me, it would have to be whoever else was sent. You would have indeed, if he wasn't giving it to you, would have to ask him, well, what should be the calendar we should be following? Because we know the Gregorian calendar is incorrect. You can't even find the set feast on that calendar. And by design, as Daniel prophesied. And if you go according to the so-called Jewish calendar, they also are incorrect. Because Enoch let us know that in no case do you need to be citing the crescent moon, the Rosh Kodesh, as the basis for determining the coming of the new months. And that is there also in the book of Jubilees, chapter 6, around verses 30 to 36, that sort of range. And he warned that, yes, people would be citing the crescent moon as the basis for arranging that calendar and determining the new months. Because it's how you determine the new month that would determine when you keep the set feasts. Okay, every one of them is key to the new month. Passover is the 14th day of the first month. So if you wrong as to the first day of that new month, you're going to be wrong as to the 14th day, isn't it? And in the 7th month, the same thing. The first day of the 7th month is the day of trumpets. And the 10th day of the 7th month is the day of atonement. So you must get the first day right in order to get the day of atonement right. It is not rocket science. So if the Gregorian calendar is wrong and the Jewish calendar is wrong, what calendar should we be using? It is a simple requirement. So the David Messiah must bring it. And he has given it to me to bring. And the key to that also was Urim e Tuhumim. Because this is how, how one can now, unravel and disentangle all the confusion that has gone on in that regard. And the confusion arose, why? Because the 364-day cycle that Enoch taught us about for the return of the spring equinox, that was varied after the flood, and it was varied further after the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. So if you continue to use a 364-day cycle, when the reality is now 365 and a quarter day on average, then the calendar ultimately would not work anymore. So there is need to be a, if you like, a correction or variation, a revision, if you like, to that Enochian calendar. And how do you get what revision there should be? The simple way: you prayerfully inquire. And if you've been given the key of Urim to Humimim, you can get an answer and sort it out. Well, he gave that to me. And it's in the book, Yahweh's Enochian Calendar, I think was the title of that book. And by the way, in that title is the error. I used to use the name as Yahweh. But there came a point when he made me to understand, no, it's not Yahweh, it is Yahweh. So when I got that new information, I could have said, well, I'm now embarrassed because I have been using Yahweh. Or I could acknowledge error admit error and correct it. But if you loveth a lie because your ego does not permit you to admit error, well, then you are one of those, that are condemned and warned under Revelation 22:15. That's not a threat. That's a warning. Because the threat is who now is going to take you down into, is coming from who is going to take you down into the infernal realms, along with the sorcerers and the whoremongers and the murderers and etc. And it's simple. And so the calendar is another basic sort of issue that we all have to be of one consent about. Okay, so the name, the calendar. And there are others. I'm not going to kind of, go down the list because I have been sort of doing that in my various uploads, and it is certainly there in the book. Okay. So I will stop there, and I hope I don't come across as being too sort of strident in my response to Torah Light. As a matter of fact, I thank Torah Light for having made that remark, which allows for this response. And I thank most of all the Most High, because, He, in His sort of inscrutable way, He's in charge and controls all. And it is a way to sort of bring to a point an issue that all those who are of the congregation, and certainly all those who are of the 144,000, must sit quietly and perhaps on their knees prayerfully inquire of the Most High as to what now they ought to do on at least these two simple points. What name to use and what calendar to use. Because those two it's right there. As to the name, some people take the name as a light thing, that the name doesn't matter. And it's a specious argument to suggest, well, we have 99 names for him or 72 names for him. It is specious. Why? Because this is not, all the 99 don't answer to what he gave to Moses, along with the admonition that this was a name that was to be used unto all generations. And if that was lost and it's now being restored, submit to it. Not without prayerful inquiry, because, whoever is coming as David Messiah, maybe they're false. Maybe they're not coming from the Most High. So you go on your knees and you separately appeal to the Most High, seek the guidance, and then if in now answering your prayer, He upholds this, what I am now putting forward, then all I can warn you is submit to it. Because otherwise you falling under 22:15 of Revelation. You love a lie more than you love the truth. And for what reason? Might be, again, because of ego or vanity. Or in some cases, some sort of specious variety of argument that is persuading you that it doesn't matter. Well, it does matter. Otherwise, we wouldn't have the third commandment, which says, don't take the name to be a vain thing. Okay, and it's there elsewhere throughout Scripture. Jeremiah chapter 16, verse 20, and it's there in not only in Zephaniah, which I've already quoted. I think it's, well, I don't have the various other sort of usages and references to that true name at the tip of my finger. So I will stop there, and I give all praise, I give all glory, I give all exaltation I give all thanks unto the Most High, Yehweh, Bahashem, Yeshua. And if you're still listening, I say to all of you who are still listening, Shalom.